I have this huge chunk missing out of my concrete patio, and today we are going to be patching it with an exposed aggregate finish.
Stay tuned till the end to see how this repair holds up over time. We'll start this repair by drilling some pilot holes in the concrete for some rebar. We step up the bit size to about 1/2 inch, which is about the diameter of the rebar. Unfortunately, the clutch on this well-used hammer drill is starting to lose its hold. After an excessive amount of drilling, it's time to cut the rebar. We also smooth the ends a little bit to get a better fit in the holes. There are a number of ways to bend rebar. We utilized a bench vise to add the curve. We did have to make a few adjustments off camera to fit it just right. While cutting the rebar down to size with a grinder and a cutting wheel, we need to keep in mind the edge of the patch and make sure the rebar fits within these lines. Since this rebar had been sitting outside for quite some time, we wanted to take care of that rust. Let's start by brushing the surface with a wire brush to knock off any large pieces of dirt or rust. We are spraying on a rusty reformer, so there is no need to completely remove all the rust. This stuff is pretty much like magic. It turns the rust into, well, not rust. After painting the reformer on, we did a little bit of research on the interweb, and it turns out that a little surface rust is fine for concrete work. If paint is applied, the finishing coat should be an epoxy-based paint like this, which is specifically designed to go onto rebar that will be used for concrete reinforcement. Next, we'll check for any loose pieces of concrete and knock off some of the dust with a metal brush. To prep the base, we'll dig out some of the dirt to provide a nice level surface. We'll also dig a little bit underneath the existing patio to give the new concrete more surface area to attach to. We'll only scrape off the top layer of dirt so we do not disturb the compacted dirt below. We'll also dig a path for the form to sit in, which will have a slight bow to match the contour of the patio. Looks like we have about 6 inches of space between the dirt and the top of the patio. This will help determine the amount of concrete we need and will be the approximate height of the form. First, we'll make the stakes that will hold the form into place. We'll make them about 12 inches so there is enough of the stake in the ground to securely hold the form. The form itself needs to be about 6 inches as we want it to sit flush with the top of our patio. Since there's a slight curve we need to account for, we will need to make relief cuts in the wood to provide us with enough flexibility to get our desired shape. The key is to go about halfway into the wood with these cuts, and to do a lot of them. This should be plenty of flex for our job. Let's blow our hole real quick to get out any loose chunks. Next, we'll apply some concrete bonding adhesive. This stuff should be used whenever you are joining new concrete to old. While we give it some time to dry, we'll move on to securing the rebar in place. We'll do one last test fitting with this bent piece before we secure everything into place. This JB weld should help hold the rebar in place while we pour the concrete. This is a 2-part epoxy that needs to be mixed before applying. We'll get a little bit of this paste in the holes as well as the shaft of our rebar before inserting. Some light taps will help secure it into place. We'll use some tie wire to join the pieces of rebar together. Everything is looking good. Time to get the form set into place. Before we set the form, we'll need to dig out a little more dirt on the sides so the form can sit flush with the top of the patio. We're still sitting a little bit high, but we'll tap it the rest of the way home. With the form sitting flush with the patio, we can add the stakes into place, starting with the ones on the sides. The middle stake will be set temporarily to hold the desired shape while we set the other stakes into place. The stakes will need to sit level with the form so they don't get in the way during the screeding process. When pouring concrete, setting the form up correctly is one of the most crucial parts to the process. Screwing the stakes into the form may be overkill, but we did it anyways. Since this is a patch job, we want to use rock that closely matches the rest of the patio. Fortunately, there was some rock in a nearby flower bed that is a close match. I'm guessing this is the leftover rock from the original pour. Should only need a few scoops for our size repair. The screen will separate most of the dirt, but a quick bath will get them spotless. Dirty pebbles will prevent the concrete from properly adhering. Even if these rocks were new from a bag, it would be a good idea to rinse them. Next, we'll compact a little road base as the foundation for our repair. This would have been a little easier without the rebar in place.
But I have just the right size stick for the job.
Also, a little water helps to compact the base. When using forms like this, it is a good idea to apply some diesel or non-stick cooking oil to the side of the form in contact with the concrete. There are a number of different types of concrete mix. We opted for the high strength option, and this is how you open a bag of concrete like an amateur. Just one cut down the middle is all you need. What an amateur. When it comes to adding water, we are aiming for a pancake batter-like consistency. A little water on the sides will help to keep the edges of the patch from drying too quickly. Now we are ready to pour, one shovel load at a time. Stopping every so often to tap it a bit will help disperse the concrete and get out any air bubbles. Be sure to check the weather before pouring. If there's a chance of rain, go ahead and wait till the forecast clears up. Rain and new concrete don't mix. Once we get the hole almost filled, leaving about 1/8 of an inch from the top of the patio, we'll screed a little bit. As we embed the rocks into the wet concrete, it should rise to the existing patio. Time to drop some rocks. After laying the rocks, we'll need to impregnate them into the concrete by gently tapping them. We used a float to do most of the tapping, then switched to a trowel to do the finishing work. If I had to completely redo this patio, I definitely would not choose this size aggregate for this type of finish. Exposed aggregate patios or driveways typically use smaller size rocks like pea gravel.
Having larger irregular sized rocks like this patio makes walking barefoot feel like Legos across a hard floor. This side is sitting a little low, so we'll add just a little more concrete. After giving the concrete some time to set up a bit, we need to come back and expose the rocks. There are a number of ways to do this. On larger exposed aggregate pours, some will use a retardant or even coke to prevent the top layer of concrete from setting up. Since this patch is such a small area, this isn't really necessary. We should be able to get away with using a medium bristle brush and some water. The key is to be gentle. Light strokes and low pressure water to rinse off the cream. After a while, you'll see those rocks begin to expose themselves. Later the following day, the concrete should be hard enough to remove the form. These stakes can be a little tough to get out and took a little bit of leverage to get them all out. Even though it's the day after we poured, we'll avoid standing on this section for at least the next few days. Most concrete will take a couple weeks to completely dry out and harden to its full strength. With the form out of the way, we can smooth down the edge to match the rest of this weathered patio. We'll xeriscape the surrounding area to give it a clean look. But first, these rocks need to be removed. Don't worry, they will be cleaned off and used to finish off the area. Here's what the patio looks like 1 year later.